That's what I was just looking for.
Because Dr. Sykes will call for an election of chairman, and after that, then the chairman takes over from there and calls the rest.
All right.
I'm doing the Pledge of Allegiance though, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I still do the call to order. And then Pledge of Allegiance.
Order for allegiance.
And then the annual meeting. I think. Okay, 6:30. Good evening. I would like to call the January meeting of the school board to order. And if we would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As part of the annual meeting, at this time, I would take nominations for the chairman for 2025 of the school board.
I nominate Elliot Reed.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Perfect. So, Mr. Reed, I will turn all of this over to you now.
All right, next we will have a nomination for vice chair.
Nominate Dr. Burnett.
Second.
Moving properly second, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Next we have appointment for clerk.
And I recommend Mrs. Kim Bagby for the position of clerk.
Second.
Motion properly second, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Next we have election for deputy clerk.
And then I recommend Ms. Karen Murray for that.
Second. Or I move, I guess I make the motion, don't I? Somebody else needs a second.
There you go.
Any question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Next, we will need to designate time and date and location for regular meetings.
I move for keeping them as they currently are, 6:30, the second Monday of each month,
Okay.
here at St. Clair Walker.
A motion, and we have a second.
Second.
Moving properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. All right. Committee assignments. All right, regional special ed.
I move we keep the committee assignments as they currently are, status
Okay.
quo.
So that would be
That
Jenny
would
is
be-
special ed, Chesapeake Bay Governor School,
That would
Dr.
be me.
Burnett. Regional special ed. That's
That would be
Jenny.
Jenny.
Okay. WHRO,
Jenny.
Jenny. Bridging Communities,
Tom.
no, okay. And expenditure review, I will continue with that. Okay?
Finance. Is that what it's called?
Finance.
Finance is Tiffany.
Your finance, yes, okay. Your government school finance, facility, bridging, community. Yep, okay. Sorry, missed that one in there.
Okay.
All right, everybody good? All right. All right, next we have, do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Yes, I have a couple of additions. I would like to move for the addition of, for enrollment and one fundraising approval to the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second?
Moved properly second and questioning. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have public announcements. Public announcements. January the 15th, end of quarter 2 and semester 1. January the 20th, school system is closed. January the 22nd, MHS renovation meeting, board members work session at high school at 4:30. January the 27th, budget work sessions at St. Clair Walker Complex at 4:30. I'm sorry, Cook's Corner Complex at 4:30. February the 10th, regular school board meeting at 6:30 p.m. here at St. Clair Walker Middle School. All right, next we have recognitions.
I do have a recognition I would like to speak about. Last week at the Board of Supervisors meeting, the auditors were there and they audit both the county and they audit the school system. And first of all, they stated we had a perfectly clean audit, which we celebrate. But on top of that, the gentleman who was there that represented the audit company spoke very highly about his ability to work with our finance department, which would be Mrs. Karen Murray, who leads that. We also have Donna Sickle in our accounts payable and payroll. But what he spoke about, not just that we had a perfectly clean audit, was that he said they're in the top 10% of school divisions and counties that he works with that are under his caseload, and the ability to get all of the information that's needed and then get it in a timely manner. And so I think, personally, I want to give a big shout out and kudos to Karen Murray and her department and what she does there, not just for her efficiencies, which I know you all are aware of, but her continued professionalism and availability to all of our staff and organizations that need to be in contact with her and get help. So I want to thank Mrs. Murray for that.
All right. Next we have educational highlights.
Good evening. Happy 2025. As most of you know, my name is Danielle Norris, and I'm the Director of Compass Academy and Virtual Learning for Middlesex County. We have a few of our students here tonight. They're going to share about a project that was near and dear to our hearts, but I'm going to let our lead teacher, Mrs. Putney, kind of introduce everyone here and give you guys a little bit of information about what they were able to accomplish.
Good evening. I'm Gina Putney, for those of you who don't know me. I want to share with you a little bit more about what Compass does, because we're more than just the online program within our classroom walls. We do a lot of outreach opportunities within the community, and I think it's really beneficial for our students because it gets a little monotonous to be in the classroom all day long. So twice a month we go to the YMCA and we volunteer there, and we also get to use their facilities to exercise. We went today, we had a little basketball challenge and a mile run challenge, which was really fun, and I don't know, kind of breaks it up and gives us an opportunity to learn each other at a different level. We also volunteer at the Crier Center twice a month, where we help with their food pantry. We help bag up the produce typically, and then we also help organize the pantry for Backpack Buddies. We volunteered at the elementary school. We helped with the book fair, and we also helped with their preschool program. They did a Christmas program this year, and we helped partner up with students that didn't have a parent or guardian there with them, which was really nice to be there for the kids. And we've also helped with the Lions Club this year. We helped set up for their Oyster Festival tent area. So it's been fun. But what we're doing tonight to present to you all is sharing about our sponsor student campaign. We've done this for 3 years now, and it's grown every year. So here's some pictures of our students and their moods before Christmas break. But they're going to share with you from start to finish our project, what it entailed, and how it made them feel. So I'm going to pass to Georgia. to start us off?
Hey guys, this is my senior year and this is my first year in Compass. The Sponsor Student campaign began 3 years ago with the goal to build a sense of community for high school students. With donations, our students do the holiday shopping and donate on the behalf of the community. Oftentimes, high school students aren't financially secure and don't know what they can do to volunteer. This campaign allows them to engage and give back while also focusing on budgeting and planning.
In class, we worked together to talk about the campaign and plan on how to advertise. We shared the information with family, friends on Facebook and put flyers in local businesses. In 2023, we adopted 5 children this year. We collected over 20 donations and 1,000. We also generously received 2 game consoles. We are able to completely fill the list of 6 children. We designed the campaign. That's the design campaign that we put on Facebook. We contact partners and adopt. And we started doing Walmart stuff, getting gifts for the kids. And then we did our fundraiser, and we shopped and delivered.
So Halen's going to talk, come stay with me at least, about the process. So how many kids do we adopt? 6. So we contacted the Department of Social Services and we adopted 6 children. They were aged 1 to 16 years old. And it was really nice. She would send us an email and go, we get 2 more, we got some more money in. So we were able to kind of work with her and she worked with us. After that, we put the students into small groups, right? And you guys had to go through the list, which they thought was ridiculous. I will tell you. But I made them write shopping lists, and I was like, you have to be focused when we're in the stores, right? So we went through the list that we got from DSS, and we made them into like more of a shopping list. So that way they were organized and structured when we went into the stores. Then we had to make sure we had enough money, right? So that was a big component where you have all these funds, but we have to divide it equally between 6 students. And 2 of them wanted, what were they called? Nintendo Switches, which are costly. So we were able to get those donated, which was a huge gift. And that kind of freed up some of our funds. And then on December 17th, I was absent that day, which was really sad. But we took the kids shopping, and they were able to go to Walmart and TJ Maxx and really clear the list for all the children in the community, which was a blessing. It was fun. It was a good experience. So here's some pictures of the event in Walmart, on the bus, looking really happy.
I don't know how many of you have shopped with teenagers, but it's a whole different experience when they're not shopping for themselves. I think a lot of them do shopping individually, but when you have a list and you have a whole series of things that you're responsible for getting and fulfilling, there were a lot of challenges that they overcame, and they really worked well together, communicating who had what and what they had accomplished. And it's funny, Miss Putney had to be out, and so we kind of had an emergency flyby to Walmart and TJ. But they said to me, I think I have everything on the list. And I checked and I said, well, this kid this kid had, it was a certain size clothing. And I look and I pull out these little teeny tiny clothes and I said, what is this? Well, those are smalls. And I'm like, these are toddler smalls. So we had to go back and rework some things. And so the 30-minute expected trip turned into a little bit longer, but we all had a lot of fun. And I think that they really enjoyed it and were able to give back. And then concludes one of our students who was unable to be here tonight last minute, dressed up as Santa Claus and came to school. And Miss Putney did a wonderful job teaching the kids to wrap presents. Many of them had never wrapped presents before.
That took a long time.
A lot of time. So if anyone would like to volunteer next year wrapping presents at Compass, the last day of school, please let us know. And they delivered
is it for Compass. Do you guys have any questions?
How did you raise it?
Does anyone want to answer?
We made a flyer and posted it on Facebook and Instagram to get the message out there, and people either sent in like text or cash out and more, and she put it on.
And they made a Facebook video.
If you go to our Compass page, it's still there.
Thank you.
Good job, well
Thank
done.
you. Thank you.
All right, next, the floor is now open for public comment.
We did not have anyone signed up for public comment.
Public comment is now closed. Board members, comments and reports.
I have nothing new at this time.
Make sure that the 22nd is on your calendars when we talk about school construction at the high school. And we have a meeting of the Governor's School Joint Board this Thursday in person in Tappahannock. And they're serving dinner, I think.
That is correct.
Okay. Thomas?
I have nothing.
Jenny?
I don't have much to report on educationally, but winter sports are in full swing, and I just wanted to kind of highlight how hard all of the seniors have been working, and to make sure that if you're able to come and support them on their senior nights. And Clark also wanted me to tell you that just an hour ago, they beat King William in Scholastic Bowl. But I also need to apologize because when I spoke at last meeting, I didn't mention how the golf team made it to states and placed third. I'm sorry. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much. All right, next we have some action items.
We actually don't.
We don't? Okay then. All right, instructional report.
Yeah, mine is just pretty simple. We have a lot of community partnerships. I want to highlight just one, which is the Middlesex Museum and Historical Society. The executive director, Ms. Horton, has really been in the schools, and she takes students also, the museum also has students come to the museum as well. She helps teachers use resources from our local history, which I think is important. Middlesex has a great historical museum with a lot of great archives. But she is using those to help the students kind of connect to our local history. So it's just, I think it's more relevant. Students research different soldiers from Middlesex for the Revolutionary War, and they use primary sources. They've looked at historical maps, looking at roads, agricultural plots, forests, and the buildings, just to find out what those mean in the context of Middlesex history. And the students in fourth grade used artifacts in groups to evaluate how these were used in the past. And of course, we have that John Mitchell map as well, which is an important part of our history and of our collections. This is just one important, valuable resource, and we're continuing to strive to bring the community into our schools and also reach out to the community business partnerships. So we'll continue to do that in the future.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Policy regulation update.
Yes, and so we have policy regulation. It is JHCD-R1, Administration of Medication Naloxone. This is just a regulation update, so it doesn't require a vote because it's not the actual policy. But the update just broadens who can administer the spray, and which is identified in the training section. It just kind of tightened up some of those sections and wording in that.
All right. Next we have 25-26 calendar draft.
Yes, and so we have in here, within your packet, the draft for 25-26. This is a 177-day calendar, which is the same as what we have this year. We have the same number of work days, same number of early release days. We did move some of the early release days around to better accommodate schedules. It has a start date of August 18th, and it has an end date of May 29th, with graduation being on May 30th. Spring break is typically the first week in April. We've done that to partner with the divisions around us and then also our regional partners. This year, April 1st is on a Wednesday, and Easter falls on April 5th. And so in the draft, we did place spring break for the first full week of April, which is right after Easter. I will tell you, though, after getting some feedback and as other divisions have started to work on their calendars, I'll give you the information around us. It looks like Essex, Lancaster, King and Queen have proposed March 30th through April 3rd being spring break week. Governor's School and Bridging Communities, right now it looks like March 30th through April 3rd. Right, Matthews is proposing the following week. West Point was still undecided. I named those just to name the divisions around us and what they're doing. And so it doesn't academically and for the needs of instruction, it does not matter which of those weeks we identify as spring break week. I bring this up because with April 1st falling in the middle of the week, we have gone with the first week of April. When I started to poll recently, it does look like our neighbors and regional partners, most of them have it the week, staying with the week before Easter, the March 30th through April 3rd. So if you have feedback on that, we welcome that. I will tell you that we did send a survey out, I think it was last week, that closes this Friday, and we are getting comments and responses to that, so we'll take all of that into consideration also. The principals will see it again. It will go in front of our superintendent's advisory that meets the end of this month. And at that point, we plan to have a finalized calendar to bring to you for the February board meeting for a vote at that time. But if you have any questions now, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions about the draft.
I have a question,
Yes.
Mr. Chair. If our neighbors and regional partners maintain the March 30th spring break, with a lot of families traveling for spring break, how does that impact spring sports schedules if we're on a different week?
It doesn't often impact the sports schedule. Sometimes sports will go ahead and they've already set those schedules. The impact would be on Governor's School, Bridging Communities, JROTC. If they are a different week than our students are, it does impact the teaching schedules there.
Thank you.
So it would be good to coordinate those dates with our regional partners as well as the other school systems in our area.
Yes, and when I will tell you that when I put the draft out, I originally had it as Dr. Bishop and I work on this as the first draft to go out to principals see it first, and we had it March 30th, and then it was brought to our attention that Easter Sunday was Sunday, the April 5th, so we thought, well, maybe we should do it that week, and for this one time, it would work alongside and coincide with Easter. It's just been this week that I've gotten information on what our regional partners are doing, and it's the bulk of them and the regional programs are that week before, starting on March 30th.
Okay.
So this is still a work in progress?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Next, we have budget discussion.
Budget discussions, and so I have an overview for budget. As you shared, we have a work session coming up later this month where we'll be able to get into more details, but some things for us to start thinking about as we plan. So Governor Youngkin presented his amended budget for FY25 and then introduced the 26 budget on December 18th, which is right before we broke for our winter break. The amended 25 budget consisted primarily of technical edits to the direct aid programs and not really any impact on us as we go through our current budget. The governor's budget will be considered in the 2025 session of the General Assembly, which we know convened on January 8th, but immediately had to recess due to the
water concerns in Richmond, but their session started today. And so, unfortunately though, VDOE did not publish any calculation templates and budget information related to the amendments. That didn't come out until last week, and so we were just starting our work on that. But what I've included in here are some of the things that we know will impact our budget going into this year, or going into next year, I should say. And so student enrollment for FY25, the current budget we are in, we base that on 1160 ADM, and ADM is average daily membership. That is for our K-12 students. It does not include our pre-K students. It does not include students who are in private day placements. We take those numbers out because they're not funded through the state and basic aid. Looking into next year, we are looking at increasing the budget number to 1170 because we are at a little bit higher than the 1160, and with the graduating class that's leaving and entering kindergarten class, we feel comfortable with that. And that's what our basic aid is based on. SOQ, standards of quality, I think you've remembered in past discussions that we're not fully funded for all of the positions, although fortunately VDOE has continued to steadily increase what some of those positions are that we're funded for, and we'll be at about 57% of our positions will be funded. And when I say state funded, that rolls into the next piece with a composite index. Our composite index remains the same for this year. This is the second year, will be the second year of the biennium. And that's at a 0.6389, which means basically that our locality is responsible for about 64% of this budget, and the state about 36%. And so back to the SOQ piece, when I say that SOQ funds 57% of our positions, it identifies that 57% of our positions that qualify for state funding. However, that does run through the LCI, and so it gets, a big chunk of that still gets pushed back to the locality. So those are the variables that influence our funding. Preliminary numbers that we are looking at, these numbers are based on 1170. We're able to manipulate that table as we have it. And so the SOQ accounts, again, the standards of quality that we're funded on. You'll see the categories. There's incentive programs, categorical programs, the lottery funded, early childhood care and education program. They've broken out into a separate category. You'll see that the increase in, there's an increase in incentive programs, and that is mainly due to the compensation supplement. It still remains in the governor's budget, a 3% compensation for SOQ funded staff. And it's a larger incentive piece than it was for the last year's budget, even though they both included a 3% increase. So you see that there's an increase there. I mentioned the early childhood care and education program. That's been broken out into a separate category. What it is, it's the funding for our VPI classrooms. That's the Virginia Preschool Initiative. And you'll see that that number is reduced. Again, we can blame that on the LCI, that in the past years, there's been a cap of 0.5, meaning that the state will give you up to half of what that cost is, and it was capped at 0.5, even if your LCI was higher than that. The cap has been removed, so any division that has an LCI higher than 0.5 now has to have more local funds to support VPI classrooms. We have 2 4-year-old classrooms and a 3-year-old classroom that's supported by those funds, which pushes more of that responsibility onto the locality. Overall, though, we are looking at just over a $200,000 increase going into the 26 calendar year, or 26 fiscal year budget. Just a reminder that this is the governor's proposed budget. Of course, the Senate and the House will have their own, and they'll come together. And this is the short session, so hopefully when it concludes in February, we will be closer to a budget than we have been in past years, but we will have to wait and see on that part. Expenditure increases, these do not have dollar amounts because we either don't have them or we haven't had the time to put them into the calc tool that just recently came out. Health insurance, I will let you know that the TLC program is out to bid this year. Currently Anthem has that. But it is out to bid, and we don't know that going forward if it will remain Anthem. I think they're hopeful that it will be, but that's not been decided. So because of that, they're not releasing any financial factors for the FY26 renewals until the bid winner has been announced. This was supposed to happen at the end of last week, but we were notified just this morning that DHRM, which is Department of Human Resources Management, did not announce the awards for medical pharmacy and vision plans on Friday as we had expected, and apparently they can have another additional 30 days to do so. So we really are sitting in wait there. Because the final renewal projection can't be provided until after the financial factors for FY26 renewals are released. We do meet quarterly with our broker in this, and our experience has been very good over the course of the year. We are hopeful that it will remain that we do not have any increases for next year based on our quarterly meetings and our experience. However, we will not know until the bid is awarded and the factors can be analyzed. So we do not know what we're planning for health yet. Maintenance, operations, technology, you can always expect increases in that due to fuel, vehicle parts, repairs, contracts, purchase services, all of those things. We always plan for an increase in those. Some of them we know ahead of time, some of them we build in a percentage that we know an increase. Positions, we will potentially be looking at additional positions for the next year. This year, we did add a early childhood special education classroom. That was due to the number of students we had that met that criteria and the maximum amount that's allowed in classrooms. We brought on a teacher this year. We will need to add a paraprofessional in that classroom. And then we are looking at some other division level positions, most of them related to special education and our increased needs in that area. And so we'll work more on those as we get into our work sessions. And then compensation, as I mentioned, that is currently in the governor's budget. That contains a 3% increase. I wouldn't be surprised if the House and Senate come forward with an additional increase on top of that. But that's something also we'll start to work into the budget. I think that that should be a minimum consideration as we move into what compensation increases should be, especially for teachers, as we continue to look at our hiring and retention practices in that area. And that is the overview. Happy to answer any questions. Again, I know it's not a lot of detailed number information. We know in the governor's proposed budget, some of the increases and what we can expect, but the next days and weeks, Mrs. Murray and I will be working on putting in to what the requests that we do have. We've had all of our meetings with our departments and our principals. I can tell you that there's not any additional asks and fluffs in anything. So it's a matter of the increases in expenses that I've reviewed or gave an overview there of what those numbers will look like. And so we do have a work session coming up in 2 weeks on that. But happy to answer questions if you have them now.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sykes. Next, we have superintendent's report.
Yep, still with me then.
Yeah.
All righty. So, one update I wanted to give was on, related to a letter that I sent out earlier today to staff and families on the PowerSchool incident. And I wanted to update you a little bit and give you information that I do have, which really isn't any more than what was contained in the letter that went out. And so PowerSchool is an international provider of education administration software. The product we contract with them includes our student information system. If you work with the IT department, you'll hear them refer to SIS. And so that's all of our student data that's housed in there. So in addition to grades, attendance, test scores, that type of information, it does contain student and staff demographic data. That's where it's housed. And it's also where the Virginia Department of Education pulls a lot of the information that they need, and reporting comes from there that goes to the state. And so PowerSchool notified us that they suffered a cybersecurity incident. I, as well as Mr. Dunkel and Ms. Croswell, who works in the IT department, have been attending webinars both with PowerSchool and VACOR, who is our insurance provider, who's not a part of this, but recognizing that almost every school division in the state of Virginia is. VACOR is also keeping their eyes on this and listening as well to help provide us guidance. From the webinar, PowerSchool stated that the data that the bad actors retrieved had been deleted, and they believe the entire event to be contained. At this point, they have only notified us that we have been affected, but they have not been able to notify us what that effect looks like. And at this point, we are dependent upon them to complete their investigation. It's not an investigation on our end because it was not a breach that was within our system. It was within the PowerSchool system. What they have shared with us is that if any personally identifiable information was obtained from any of our data, then PowerSchool will be responsible for sending communication to anyone that would have been affected, and that would come via mail to anyone, whether it was student or whether it was staff. Again, we're not involved in the investigation, so I don't have any other information that I can share. We have to wait for them to come back to us and say this was affected or this was not affected. I do want to reiterate that the breach was not internal to us. It was not any of our systems. It was not any of our servers. It did not reach out through PowerSchool to gain anything else from us. It's PowerSchool technically is one of our vendors, and we are their client. I can tell you that we've been with PowerSchool since 2009, and this is the first time that I know that we've been made aware of anything like this. And so as I receive more information, I'll continue to keep both the board and our families and staff updated, but that is all of the information that I have on the incident. But if you have questions that you think I can answer, I'm happy to answer those also. And that's all I have from my report.
Okay. All right. Next, we have any old business? Any new? Next, we will go into closed meeting. And pursuant to the Code of Virginia, the board will go into closed session to discuss personnel matters, student matters, and legal matters. May I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Move properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are now in closed session. have a motion to go out of close?
So moved.
Moved and
Second.
properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Okay. Pursuant to the Code of Virginia, the board discussed personnel matters, student matters, and legal matters during closed session. Matters discussed in closed session have been added to the consent agenda and other parts of the agenda as action items and information items. Board members, please certify that only lawful matters were discussed in closed session. Board members will respond by roll call.
Ms. Robbins,
Yes.
Dr. Burnett,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes?
Ms. McMurtry. Yes. And Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Next, we have a motion to adjourn.
Don't forget your
So
amendments.
moved.
Got it in there.
What?
I've already started filling it
Okay,
out.
I'm sorry.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the consent
So
agenda.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
Motion is so carried. Good night.